Hello everyone, and let's talk about lightning spec. What happened to this spec? Is of course the lowest damaging spec in the game according to parses. I mean, having to look at damage parses, what fun and excitement our life has become to when we have to take a look at damage parses. You know how I feel about things like that. I hate these things. Honestly, if you're gonna pick a class you enjoy, right? Unless you're rating at the high end, it makes no difference how much DPS. A lot of people tell me, oh, Sorc does shit DPS, and it's like, I don't care. You know, it's like people tell me, oh, the Marauder does way more DPS than the Vanguard. I don't give a shit, is my response. I do not give a shiny shit how much DPS it does, how much more it does, how much less it does. I do not enjoy playing a Marauder. I enjoyed playing the Vanguard. I'm picking a class primarily because it's fun, okay? We picked this Sorcerer because it does fulfill the role of a ranged DPS and a healer. Originally we were going to play Madness, but getting only having 157 Alacrity means that's not really viable, to be honest, with beginning and end game. Having sort of, I think 700 odd crit, at least it's more viable to play lightning spec. So what are the issues with it? We'll start with the new ability that you get, which is Convulsing Currents. Okay, shock deals 20% more damage to targets affected by your crushing darkness. Yippee! That is so exciting, isn't it? You know, I bet you're looking forward to that. It's one of the most boring things we've seen added to the game, okay? Shock doing 20% more damage to targets. Now, it does put Shock into the rotation, which does add an extra button to press, so yay! We've got an extra button to press. Woohoo. So happy to have just an extra button in my high APM spec. Thank you for that, BioWare. Awesome. Honestly, it's not even a high priority ability, Shock. It is like, you prioritize it over a lightning bolt, and that's it. Okay, if anything else is procced, anything else is available, your lightning flash, your thundering blast, your chain lightning proc, you don't use shock. Okay, that's where it fits in. We'll do an overview of lightning, and we'll talk about some of the problems with lightning. And I think the biggest problem with the lightning spec is that out of all the specs I see played, it's played wrong by the most people. I think it's one of the hardest specs for new players to pick up. Okay, I mean, it does use it's not, I wouldn't call it complicated, but it is sort of mislabeled, I would say. A lot of things and abilities could be much better labeled, chiefly of which is Force Lightning. Now, Force Lightning is not part of your rotation. I don't have it keybound. I just threw it down on the bottom bar. Doesn't have a key binding. It's just there. The only reason it's on the bottom bar, doesn't have a key bind, is that in case I need, I respec basically, and then I need to bring the lightning back onto the bar, and that's it. That's the only reason it's there. That's the only reason it exists on the bar. Otherwise, you can take it off the bar. I take the melee attack off the bar as well. Just delete that because you're never gonna need that melee attack. To be honest with you, it's not worth it generally in PvE. So what do we mean by it's confusing and annoying for new players? Well, let's look at why you would choose a Sorcerer. Why would you pick a Sith Sorcerer? It's because you're a fan of Darth Sidious, aren't you? Really? I mean, that's really, he was arguably the original sort of Sith Sorcerer, if you will, in episode 7. What does he use? He uses Force Lightning, doesn't he? On Luke Skywalker. So you think, oh, I'm going to pick a Sorcerer. Oh, Force Lightning. I'm going to pick Lightning spec because surely it'll revolve around Force Lightning. Surely that's part of the class fantasy. Nope. You don't even use it. And the amount of people I see playing Lightning using Force Lightning because it is the iconic Sorcerer ability. Not iconic in the Ubisoft sense, but iconic in the actual iconic sense. But that is one of the hallmarks of a Sorcerer. I think Lightning should either be removed from the spec, okay, replace have Chain Lightning replace it would be the simplest option. Okay, it just removes it and Chain Lightning replaces it. Because you get Chain Lightning at level, is level 10 you get your first ability or level 1 now? I don't know. Haven't leveled from scratch in 5.0, so I don't know. So whenever you get Chain Lightning, whenever you pick your spec, because you pick your class at level 1, I don't know, maybe you pick your spec at level 10, because you pick the advanced class, should we say, at level 1 now. So whether you start with a spec or not, or whether you just get to level 10 and choose your spec, I don't know, because I've never done that in 5.0. The last level the character from scratch in 4.0, so I don't actually know that. So whenever you get Chain Lightning, it should replace Force Lightning and Lightning Spec. Either that or bring Lightning Spec back into it. What about Convulsing Currencies, buffing Force Lightning instead of Shock? I mean, okay, it does limit our mobility using Force Lightning, but hey, it brings back an element of the class fantasy. It's Lightning Spec, and even the Sage, which is telekinetics, the equivalent of Lightning in the Sage is telekinetic throw. So it's still got telekinetic in the title, okay? Still has it there in the title, so you would still think, oh, telekinetic throw, telekinetic spec, I think I should use that. That's just a thing that forms in your mind. Bear in mind, a lot of people don't read guides, and a lot of people don't look at videos or follow guides or anything like that. They just kind of go on instinct, I would say. And again, that's how you spend most of your early time with classes. You don't really read a guide when you first start a class. You go and play it, and you see if you can figure stuff out. And then you maybe take a look at a guide if you want to play it at a higher level. So, what can we do to alleviate this? Personally, I would either get rid of Crushing Darkness. I don't know. It doesn't really feel like it has a place. Maybe have Lightning Flash buff up your Force Lightning. Lightning Flash buffer Force Lightning, and just have Force Lightning do effectively the same thing as Crushing Darkness, only it's a channeled ability instead of a dot that you cast. Something like that would at least keep the class fantasy. Affliction kind of needs to be there, okay? But it is a very high, intense APM spec in comparison to a lot of other specs in the game. I was thinking you're always going to be pressing something, press constantly. The APM requirements are annoying, and of course the reward just isn't there, really. Crushing Darkness it's alright. I mean, you use it anyway. They've integrated it into the spec. Even before they really integrated it into the spec, you still used it because it is a powerful dot. Basically putting a shock into a 6-second window and then only giving it a 20% damage buff, I don't like it. I don't honestly see the point in it. You don't use it in your main rotation, okay? Basically how it works is you get your Crushing Darkness out, you get your Affliction up, and then it works on a priority system. So Thundering Blast is always your top priority. It's always going to be your top priority. Chain Lightning if it procs, and Lightning Flash. Okay, Lightning Flash again reduces the activation time of your Crushing Darkness, so you always want Lightning Flash on cooldown, and then Lightning Bolt is your filler, okay? All this does is when Crushing Darkness is up, if none of those abilities are available, obviously Lightning Bolt will always be available because it has no cooldown, then you're going to press Shock. So if Thundering Blast is on cooldown, Lightning Flash is on cooldown, and Chain Lightning hasn't procced, then you're going to use Shock. That's it. That's all it is. It's just another filler ability. It's just another Lightning Bolt filler ability, basically. It's just if your instant cast Lightning Bolt hasn't procced either, you can just use Shock. It does slightly more damage than a Lightning Bolt, but it just struggles to see. I struggle to see the reason. Why not just buff your next Lightning Bolt? That would have been the easiest option. Again, just adding an extra button. Yeah, I have to put Shock on the keybinds now. Thanks for that. My high APM spec, my high sort of actions per minute spec, is now gonna have an extra button to press, and I just don't like it. I just don't think it adds any decision making to it. I mean, you're just gonna wait. Everything's on cooldown. Press it. Okay, there you go. Move on. Really, that's it. That's it. It doesn't add any complexity. It doesn't add any flavor to the class whatsoever. to be honest. It just adds it. I like the kind of old shock that had maybe the proc to have it deal damage twice. Might have been worth taking, but they took that out of the game. That might have maybe made it a bit worthwhile, because you can do 2 shocks, then, you know, with the 20% damage boost. Maybe that would have been an interesting upgrade to it, but overall, not a fan of it. Hopefully I get more alacrity gear and I can go back to madness, really. But lightning, it just feels a little bit out of date now. I wish it would get an overhaul. It needs some sort of overhaul. Similar to what the Vanguard got in 3.0. I would like to see it modernized, I think. Would be pretty awesome to have it. I mean, it's got mobility. I'll give it that. I'll give it the fact that it has mobility, but it does good burst as well. You got some nice burst. I died on the... was doing EC and I died on the tank. I died because I pulled one of the tanks. Yeah, I pulled aggro off the tanks. Pulled off aggro off the tank on Firebrand. I was DPSing Firebrand and got killed by Firebrand. That was interesting. Did EC in a pug? Don't recommend it. I won't show you. I might do the footage for that, or I might show you some of the footage for that. I'll show you some Hammer Station footage, which went okay, really, and I kind of enjoyed Hammer Station. It was an interesting one. I will say this though, veteran flat, or whatever they're called, hard HM flashpoints, whatever the hell they are these days, are much more enjoyable than tactical flashpoints, because as a DPS, I can just DPS. I have one job and that's it. I don't have to heal. I don't have to tank. I don't have to... if I pop my cooldowns, I'm not going to be tanking, because the tank should be able to hold aggro if they're decent, although that tank and EC failed to hold aggro and I died within seconds. I might show you that footage, actually, of me dying within seconds on the Firebrand and Stormcaller. So that shows you we do have the burst. Sustained output is a pain in the arse, to be honest with it. But yeah, lightning I'm not a fan of. I used to love. I used to play TK. I raided, I was a TK Sage. I raided TFB as a TK Sage. So, I mean, I used to really enjoy that. I think they've just added too many buttons to it. Really, just less buttons. You know, it doesn't have to... more buttons doesn't equal more complexity. I don't know where people get that idea from. It's just another button for me to press, and it's like it just fits in, like that extra shock just fits in. It slots into the priority system, right? And it slots in very low end on the priority system, because 20% damage to shock doesn't make a huge difference to the spec. You can play without the shock. Some people have showed data without shock and said it doesn't really make a huge difference to the rotation anyway. But anyway, I'll leave you with the footage, and that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.